Welcome to Film Strip, movie reviews presented by Continuous Play Podcast. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Ron.
And this is our review of Enter the Ninja, starring Frank Nero, voiced by Mark Smith and Ninja stand-in by Mike Stone, Susan George, Sho Kasugi, Christopher George, Alex Courtney, Constantine Gregory, Zaki Noy, and Will Hare. Directed by Menahem Golan, released in 1981 on a budget of $1.5 million. Credited with starting the 80s ninja craze movies. We teased this before, Ron, and now we're here to do it. Hashtag Ninja-vember is here for Film Strip.
Yes, Ninja-vember, the greatest, the most wonderful time of the year.
It's fantastic. Now, these are obviously Golden Globus pictures. We've done a lot of Golden Globus stuff here since you've joined the show. Background on these, like, when did you discover the Enter the Ninja and its two sequels?
I discovered Enter the Ninja, like, officially probably in the mid to late 90s, but I remember seeing it as a child back in the early 80s. Just because I remember ninjas in like primary color outfits, and there being like a different each ninja with a different color, which I was getting confused with a couple of different ninja movies, but I do remember lots of white ninjas with mustaches.
See, and like my only point of reference growing up for ninjas at all was from G.I. Joe. You know, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, or whatever the white ninja for Cobra is. I can't remember his name now, but like that was what I knew a ninja was. I never even thought of Chuck Norris as a ninja. I don't remember ninja movies. I think I just missed this somewhere along the way. So I think I had seen clips of this movie because it's got some scenes that are dandies in it that have, you know, made the meme rounds through the years. But I had never seen this movie, never knew it existed or anything until you brought it up. But it's its own fad, right? And this was, you know, the beginning of Canon Films trying to do semi-legit properties to make money, right?
Yeah, this is when they finally realized how much money you could make in the home video market, and they decided to leap onto it with both hands.
And now this is our second, you know, Golden Globus Ninja retrospective. We did the American Ninja series a few years ago with Michael Dudikoff, but this one started out as a vehicle for Chuck Norris, but he bowed out because he didn't want his face covered so much.
Yes, Chuck Norris was supposed to be the ninja. Chuck Norris refused to wear the mask. And I also don't think Chuck Norris also didn't want to be directed by Menahem Golan. So this movie was in production, and then a Chuck Norris movie was also in production, and the director who was assigned to this went to the Chuck Norris movie, and then Menahem Golan came to this movie. So basically they swapped directors like after they started shooting both movies. Excuse me, it was not Chuck Norris, it was Charles Bronson. You know, Chuck Norris refused to wear a mask, and Charles Bronson refused to be directed by Menahem Golan, because Golan was supposed to be directing Death Wish 2, speaking of future series.
Yeah, to be done later on down the line. So that's when they go with Frank Nero, the original Django. But they don't use his voice, right? I knew that guy I used to think he was one of the most interesting men in the world, but he's actually not that guy. But he was the, evil dictator colonel in Die Hard 2 that naked William Sadler was trying to break out of custody or whatever, and ends up flying the plane at the end that John McClane lights on fire. So I knew Franco Nero from that, and then had seen Django years later and was like, oh yeah, I recognize that face on that guy. And I was kind of surprised when he took the mask off in the opening scenes. I was like, oh wow, that's that guy.
And you can tell that he has absolutely no knowledge of martial arts at
all. Like, he is the close-up shots with the eyes, and then I think everything else is Mike Stone, who was supposed to, like, wanted the role, but, like, couldn't act. So they said, well, you can be the ninja and stand-in, and Franco can act, but we don't like his voice, so we'll dub it with, random American generic voice.
Yeah, Franco Nero they found him at a film festival in Manila, and so they were like, hey, do you want to be in this movie? And he said yes.
What a great tryout procedure we had there, Golden Globus.
Yeah. Is there a film festival nearby? Okay. Is there a C-list spaghetti western actor? Yes.
Is there someone just walking around that looks somewhat menacing and intense? Because he does look intense. Like, his face is to have those bright blue eyes like he does. He can look very, I don't know, intense for a piece of toast. I mean, that's kind of what he is. But I guess I'm going to guess, though, that a lot of our audience maybe is aware of this movie, but probably hasn't seen it. And so why don't you give us a plot summary, give us the details, tell us what goes on in Enter the Ninja.
Sure thing. And yes, I did deliberately hide this from Jay, so that hopefully we will get him cracking up here early and often. Cole, a white guy with a mustache, has passed the final test. He's now officially a ninja, entitled to all the secrets of ninjutsu. Helpfully written down on a scroll. One of his classmates, Hasegawa, isn't a big fan of letting white folks become ninjas, and if you don't think this will come back into play later, then I hope you enjoy your first ever movie. Cole heads to the Philippines to visit his old war buddy Frank and his new wife Marianne. As it turns out, Cole is walking right into a war zone as the nefarious Venarius is trying to drive Frank and Marianne off their land to get access to the rich oil deposits underneath. Cole beats up on various tired thugs until finally Venarius decides the only way to fight a ninja is to buy your own ninja. Enter the returning Hasegawa, ready and willing to do the dirty work. Hasegawa kills the impotent drunk Frank, kidnaps Marianne, lures Cole to Venarius' martial arts arena for a final showdown.
Because, of course, he just has one.
I thought it was a cockfighting ring, but apparently it's a martial arts arena.
Yeah, no. It looks like a bullfight. It looks like an ag, arena. There's lots of uses for that. So.
Yeah, it's a multi-purpose murder facility. Cole kills henchmen with the aid of crazed vet dollars, takes out Venarius, then has a final battle with Hasegawa. Cole defeats the Black Ninja, gives Hasegawa an honorable beheading, saves the girl, and then heads off to his next adventure with a wink.
To never be continued, because he doesn't come back.
He does not.
Because I did read ahead on what comes next time around. Well, that is an excellent plot summary, and it's much deeper than the actual film that we see, all those racial undertones and everything. It's all subtext, because if you know anything about Golden Globus movies, they just put stuff on the screen and you just figure it out. Like, there's so little dialogue in this film. It is amazing to me. Like, there's 10 minutes in the opening where every piece of dialogue is, oh,
and if you watched it on Amazon, as I did, it is helpfully subtitled, because I watch everything with subtitles. It's subtitled Karate Yells.
Ninja voice stronger.
There's also Thwack is another one.
Yeah. The thing I didn't get until after the fight is over, or whatever. I thought, like, the fact that he beheads a mannequin and it's the master's head, and he kind of brings it into the trophy room like, good chop, or whatever for him. I didn't realize that the rest of the ninjas were like lived. I thought he actually killed all of them, but there is that one that takes off like that bamboo guard, I guess. So that's how. But some of them are actually cut up. I thought he hit one in the head with a throwing star.
I think he did hit one in the head with a throwing star. I think
but he lived. So
well, I mean, let's be honest. Could a throwing star actually kill somebody outside of the movie universe?
Well, no, but hey, I don't know. South Park taught us a lot of things about those a few years back. But hey, that's going to become a thing later because he is going to kill someone with one. I mean, in a pretty deliberate fashion. So I don't know. I was surprised by that, though. Like, I thought, part of the ninja training would be you would actually have to kill all these freaking people. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, man, that's going to be suck to be the red ninjas. That's like red shirts in Star Trek. I mean, it's like, oh, God, you're going to get killed. Well, maybe not many people make it past this. I don't know.
I mean, it would be a waste of good ninja, or at least mediocre ninja, if you just kill them all.
Right, true. But like, that's the other thing, too. Cole, our lead here, Franco Nero, Cole, which what a generic white name. Cole. Cole is training in Japan in ninjutsu because he is a war veteran, but he's American, but he fought in a South African bush conflict. Was he like a mercenary or something?
I think that's what we're supposed to believe.
It's never established.
Like the first 10 times I saw this movie, I just assumed that they were fighting in Vietnam.
Oh, holy cow. Okay, so you just revealed something. You've seen this movie 10 times. Don't you ever rag on me for watching After Last Season that many times again?
I mean, I probably haven't seen it 10 times, but I have seen it at least 5 times.
I mean, well, no, that's true, and I will go ahead and say this is much better than After Last Season, but if not nearly as esoteric, but it is definitely a better quality film. So Minahem Golan, congratulations, you did that in your life. The war flashback scene, and I know that comes later, and I'm skipping ahead, but that was hilarious to me because it reminded me of like what my brother and my friends in the neighborhood used to do when we would play war in the woods behind the neighborhood. I mean, it's exactly how it felt.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely, and it's about as well set dressed.
Yeah, actually, I think we probably had more realistic looking fake weapons at the time. But yeah, so he's a war vet, and he's gone to learn how to be a ninja. I mean, are they like for hire or something? Does he just want to do it? Because you never see him do like inner monologues of peace or anything. So I didn't understand why he wanted to become a ninja.
The feeling I got was that he's just traveling around looking for stuff to do that's related to war. That's what we get that line later. Actually, in that very same scene we were just making fun of, where Frank asks him what he's going to do, and he says, "I don't know, find another war."
Yeah, he does show up when he shows up in the Philippines at his buddy Frank's house. We meet Susan George of Venom fame. Yay! I didn't realize she was in this. So she comes out, and in what will be, I don't know if it was like direction, like the way George Lucas did Carrie Fisher in Star Wars, or an actor's choice, but she does not believe in the top part of women's underwear, but wears very loose-fitting shirts throughout this sweaty film. And I can only think they probably told her to do that. So I feel bad for her in some way. But she comes out wielding a shotgun, and of course he gets to take her down. But this is where you realize that Franco Nero knows nothing about martial arts, because all he can really do is grope her and grab her. Like the ninja guy that stands in for him, Stone, much better, with the ninja moves than Franco is.
Yeah, and it's definitely just like a blatant grope.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, you see her get away like, hey, that wasn't part of the scene. And, of course, Minahem Golan, being who he was, just left it in.
Oh, yeah. He leaves he leaves just about everything in, no matter how many dead Filipino extras you can see breathing and blinking.
Oh, yes. There's many. We'll get to those. So, but the Cole, the white in so many ways ninja I wrote down, completes that violent training. But I love that, like, Hasegawa's reason, like the teacher says, it's modern Japan. He just doesn't get it. I'm like, he doesn't like modern Japan in the 80s? That's when Japan like exploded economically. Would you want to go back to the feudal system? What was Hasegawa?
He does, because they say something like he comes from a family that was a long line of warriors, and in a previous generation he would have been a great warrior. Now I just assume he's a salaryman working for Mitsubishi or Sony or.
Yeah. He's probably working his ass off 70 hours a week, and then he plays Ninja on the weekend. He's like, I hate this off. I hate being an accountant.
I mean, that was my assumption as to what Hasegawa did.
But yeah, I mean, because the master like plays it off kind of like, I don't know who this guy is, but he has like this Mr. Miyagi thing to him. And this is years before Karate Kid, but he's just so like very ninja, but he's also like kind of modern. Like, you want to get a cup of coffee down at Starbucks or whatever. Like, he's very normal. It's striking and funny. But now I want to say this: Sho Kosugi steals this movie for me, Ron. If you can't already tell, I liked this a lot, and I loved this guy. If only for his like pained facial expressions, he looked like Ken Leong sometimes from the all those bad comedy movies he's been in and stuff. But I loved this guy because I could tell that was really him. Like, he could do all this crap.
Yeah, he's a legitimate skilled martial artist. The sensei is a longtime character actor, Dale Ishimoto, who was actually probably the only American in the cast that wasn't Christopher George, because he was born in Colorado.
That's amazing.
And he fought in World War II with the Nisei Brigade, and then he went and basically forged a career as a Japanese guy who you want to speak English.
Hey, good work if you can get it. So, I mean, I knew I'd seen him somewhere. The other people, too, that pop up through, I like Alex Courtney. I don't know where I've seen him, but I've seen him playing a drunk Lothario somewhere else. I know I have, because he just looks too real in it. Will Hare, who plays Dollars, many people will know as Old Man Peabody from Back to the Future.
That's who that is.
But I recognized him immediately. Well, my first thought actually was like, is that Crazy Ralph from Friday the 13th? I was like, no. And then I said, wait a minute. It's the crazy grandpa from the beginning of Silent Night, Deadly Night. And by George, it is. So that's what I know him from.
Nice.
He's kind of like a smaller Sterling Hayden ripoff. Older Sterling Hayden.
I could see that.
He's got that face. I mean, it's sort of the constant Jen Rose nose and everything. But you know what? I found him to be kind of funny in this because he has information and things or whatever. But all of this is set up because Frank is kind of a lazy drunk. He's lost his edge, but his wife Marianne is all about this coconut and banana farm thing they got going on, right?
Yeah.
And what I realized is, like, throughout the 80s, there was like a trope in low budget action films of people just trying to do their best to be the small, get work off the land and be their own people, and some corporate goon trying to buy them up, and all the workers that are getting shuttled for that. So I was like, I didn't realize this sort of invented that too. I mean, that would have been new in 1981.
Yeah, and instead of having to put on a show to save the community center, they send a white ninja to kill 300 people.
The show doesn't say the community center is a breaking reference, I think is what you're saying. What, a year or two later?
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years later. Speaking of
we'll get to
Golan and Globus
in part 3, but and you just hold on to that break in retrospective, sir, because that's so. Because I got thoughts about Boogaloo Shrimp for days, but we got to throw Beat Street in there too, the competition to get by. But anyway, I digress. Back on Carnosaur. I mean, Enter the Ninja. So I love that Venarius, the extremely corporate greedy white guy who's like wearing business casual Japanese outfits and doing water scenes with polo women and synchronized dancing, and he has like all these henchmen that wear white suits, and you can't talk to him directly, you talk through a henchman to get to him. I love this guy because he is like it was like if Gordon Gekko was a murderous thug.
That's a great way to put it. I was just sitting here thinking it's like if Busby Berkeley was an 80s yuppie murderer.
Yes, yeah, there you go. Or if the Duke brothers from Trading Places also like had a team of ninjas to kill people.
And I mean, we don't know they don't.
Yeah, you know what? We didn't know Harvey Weinstein had a team of ninjas working behind the scenes for him until recently either. So who knows? I mean, yeah, that's true. So I mean, but I love this guy though because he is so evil, and I had to look it up because I was like, is he like related to Susan George? They just have a similar last name. Nope, he's just a character actor. But I love this guy because he's all like very proper, like, Mr. Parker, I just want my land. Can we not have this, please? But he's also like that ultimate boss. He reminded me of like a couple of deans I've known at colleges that I've worked at. Dean
Wormer.
Well, he's a little bit more than that, but yeah, exactly. In another life, he could have been a good one, probably. So.
No, that's definitely a pretty great comparison. Yeah, it's a very interesting take on a villain because he's very much I don't want to get my hands dirty, and yet he employs all these shakedown artists and the guy with the hook to rough these locals up.
Let's talk about Siegfried Schultz, the Hook Man. Zaki Noy. What a weird performance from a very weird looking person. He's this little. He kind of looks like. He kind of looks like Richard Attenborough.
Oh, yes.
Like, think about it. Like, he really does look like him. And he's sort of, he's kind of egoring around with the movie, and he's got this hook, so he's like a faux Bond villain, too. I felt like, this is just like a Bond henchman they're ripping off.
Yeah, he definitely...
But he's not even a good one. He's like a comedic one. So, like, the real one is Mr. Parker.
Yeah, Mr. Parker is the serious henchman. This is the comic relief henchman. He's the Jaws from Moonraker.
Exactly. Yes, he is the Jaws from Moonraker,
and not the Jaws from.
He shakes down some.
The other ones.
Yeah. I don't remember the other one he was in, but yeah, he's very much the Jaws from Moonraker. He shows up in that credit sequence at the end because Cole's telling Dollars, ninjas don't kill people; they only kill people for defense or some nonsense. And then he sees. Hookman coming out there to be his porter because he's been demoted now at this point, and he starts running away. He said, "But there's always exceptions." Ha ha! And winks while his lips don't move, and those lines come from his character, and he just winks at the camera. But yeah, no, I love this dude though. I love that he was a shakedown artist, and that Dollars has this whole thing like, he was kind of a jerk until he lost his hand, then he became a real one.
Yeah.
But we don't know how he loses the hand, but at some point Cole rips that friggin' hook out of his hand in like some of the worst spaghetti you can have hanging off for special effects.
Was that supposed to be like bloody flesh?
I thought that was supposed to be like tendrils that were just hanging loose, and he sort of shoves it back on there.
Okay. I wasn't sure what that was supposed to be.
Well, it's also not like even correct prosthetically, because even if they hook it into you or whatever, it's not hooked to like all your ligaments and stuff like that. Not that kind of hook. That's just a stump holder. So at worst, it would be like a hole in the end of his stump. So I thought it was hilarious though, because you just knew like they'd set that up and it's so badly done the way the guy's holding the prop. But they'd set it up where like, Cole's going to rip that off and like stab him with it. And the first time he really gets him, he like hooks his arm up above the bar and makes him kind of stand in an awkward position and leaves him there.
Yeah, he embeds him into a roof support beam.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next time is in the parking lot where he has to take down a bunch of the local thugs, and then he rips the guy's arm off basically and throws his hook at him. Like, you forgot this.
which is I assume another great ADR line.
I can only imagine like the directing. I mean, and I've seen the only behind the scenes stuff I know about this is from the excellent documentary Electric Boogaloo about the Canon Films Golden Globus run, and these ninja films they got like a 10-minute scene in it where they talk about all of them, and they talk about like the directing would have been something like, yes, more blood, go, very good, cut, that would be it.
That seems about right. That seems to fit with my understanding of the Golden Globus mindset, which was more blood. Let's do one take, move on.
Yeah. I'll say this, though. I don't know if it's because somebody else is doing it for him or it's just happy accidents or whatever, but Menahem Golan actually does a pretty good job of shooting the action scenes. Like, they look pretty good. They don't look as over the top as I would have expected them to. And I think what I'm waiting on is coming in like a future sequel or something, because I think I know of some goofy stuff to come around. But for most of everything that happens here, like I could believably see a human being doing this, because I live in the 21st century. I've seen people do parkour, and that just freaks my mind out, to see Jedi people walk along the wall like that. I've seen Bo Jackson climb an outfield wall and gun somebody down, from 900 yards away with a baseball. I mean, I've seen physical feats of strength, and everything that happens here looks like something someone could do if they were the greatest ninjas of all time.
And Mike Stone really is a phenomenal martial artist. Like, he won something like 92 karate fights in a row. Yeah, he's won all kinds of like karate championships and stuff, and of course Sho Kosuge is just spectacular.
Well, I mean, it is a shame in some ways that he's not allowed to play the rest of the role. It's why I really wish we would have had Chuck Norris in this. Charles Bronson seems very weird. That would have worked at all. But Norris going up against Kosugi would have been even more fun. I think, and even with all the fight scenes that they do. But for what they get out of it, Mike Stone does a tremendous job as the ninja in place when they're taking down gangs of thugs and all that.
And I feel like we should actually for Ninja-vember, if we have the time, I think we should roll the 2009 Ninja Assassin in.
Oh, I don't know that.
That's the one. It was like a Korean pop star is the lead, and this guy named Rain. But the bad guy is Sho Kosuge making his big comeback because he retired from acting in the mid '90s, and then he showed up in Ninja Assassin as the head bad guy, just coming out of nowhere, and he's great.
Oh, we might have to try to squeeze that in then if we can. That would be fantastic. So, I've got to say though, as goofy as this movie is, and I mean it is absolutely nuts what's going on, I'm never bored with it. Like even the slower dramatic parts where you've got Marianne who doesn't seem to like Cole, and then she kind of comes around to him, and then Frank confides in him that, hey man, I can't really make it work in the love department anymore, and all this kind of stuff. Like Susan George and Franco Nero stage what may be the most perfunctory and awkward love scene, not love scene of all time. She wears like this thin negligee, walks into his cabana or whatever. He's laying there in bed reading the paper. He looks at her. She kind of crawls onto the side of the bed, but she's sort of halfway in, halfway out of the bed. He looks back down at the paper, turns his head, turns the light off, and there it is.
Well,
you think Susan George is like, look, I will run around virtually topless for this entire movie, but I am not making out with this guy. So
I think that had to be part of it. That it's just... Yeah. I think they were like, hey Susan, would you take your top off? And she was like, yeah, for $10,000. And they were like, never mind.
Yeah, here's $1,000. Just don't wear anything under the shirt. Deal. So, that had to be
here's $100 American dollars and some tape. Go to town.
Oh, I don't think there's much tape going, man. From what I can tell. But no, what really is weird though is you have there's like this 10 minutes of drama now where Frank is going, like, you think he knows, like, yeah, my wife just hooked up with you because obviously you're virile and I'm not, and all that. Like, he hints around it the next day at dinner, but then they get interrupted because it's time for more goons to bother him.
Yeah, I think that was their cursory attempt to have a B plot.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like, the whole plot is, I want this land because it's got a lot of oil on it, and these idiots don't know that there's oil on it. They're so like new to this. Like, these are not professional farmers who then just decided to do this in the Philippines. They just decided they wanted to do this. Okay? Why couldn't you just tell them, hey, there's some good minerals on your land. I'll offer you a little bit of dough for it and buy it from them. You've gone through so much expense and elaborate stuff he's actually trying to purchase it anyway. Why make it hard and try to kill them off of it?
Yeah.
Veneers' plan is flawed.
I mean, all he had to do was say, look, I'd like to buy the mineral rights for your land. We'll do a 75-25 split. You'll get 25 plus here's a check for $500,000. And the end. And I think they would have easily gone for it.
Exactly. And worst case is you turn around a few years later like Ray Kroc did with McDonald's and just sue them and buy it all out. So what's the difference? So it seems to be
although it really probably can't cost that much to hire a bunch of goons in the Philippines.
It looked like there was no like paying going on. It was more, can you survive the hook man hitting you in the balls and then and beat the hell out of each other? The goon tryout is a great dance choreography scene. If like you turn the sound off and put on like some EDM music, let the bass drop, it's pretty amazing. I actually did that just to see how it would work. It works pretty good.
Yeah, that's the just cue up the breakdown for any hardcore song.
I recommend some good Skrillex for that. So and it works out pretty good for you.
That's pretty funny.
In fact, if one of our listeners wants to put that to YouTube, I will like the heck out of it. So that would be awesome. So Cole keeps dispatching goons. Marianne seduces him, like we said. And then we finally realize that, okay, Hookman is useless. Let's get him off the payroll. Mr. Parker, will you please take care of this for me? So Mr. Parker goes to Japan, and is he like in a talent agent's office looking for a ninja? And the guy keeps trying to feed him.
He is in a talent agent's office looking for a ninja.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't know in 1980 where to go and get one either. The Yellow Pages?
Well, clearly the agent must represent some ninjas because he finds one.
Well, I mean, he's like walking around going like, ninja? And they're like, oh, yeah. But, reminded me of a scene that's in the Doctor Strange movie that came out a couple of years ago where Benedict Cumberbatch is walking around going like, secret hideout of magic people? Yeah, it's over there. Okay. So it's just as convenient. So I did find that hilarious, though. And they're like, oh, I have just the man for you. And I'm like, I know who this is going to be. Raise your hand if you don't know who this is going to be. And then Hasagawa's going. I needed a scene though where the master and Hasagawa like argue about this. He's like, "No, don't go do this. I know you hate Cole, but you don't have to go and try and kill him. I must for honor." Like I wanted that scene. You think that's cut somewhere?
Well, the thing is, they lie to the master. They don't tell it. They tell him that they need the ninja for self-defense because goons are attacking them.
That is correct. So you do get some of Sho Kosugi's best like ninja martial arts skills going on in this scene because he like shows off all the stuff he knows how to use and he dances around and stuff. It's
and I mean that's him in the opening credits too, which
oh yes, we didn't talk about the opening credits where it's basically just like faux Japanese font on one side, black background, and a black ninja playing with ninja gear.
Yeah,
and that's
that's Sho doing his thing too.
Do you think? Like, he was like, this is such bullshit. In his head. It was like, but the $7 is worth it.
I don't know. That's a great question. He'd been trying to be, like, in Hollywood movies for a long time. Like, he was an extra in The Godfather Part 2. In, like, 1974, yeah. And he was in a Bruce Lee knockoff. He was in Bad News Bears Go to Japan. I think he was just like, you want me to do what now? Yeah, sure. And I mean, the dude knows like 7 or 8 different forms of martial arts. So,
look, and again, when the craze of this is starting, or it's starting to get to be the thing that everybody wants, I could see why he could build a career out of it. Sure. Did he ever star alongside Chuck in anything? That would have been fun if he had.
It doesn't look like he did.
Oh, see, that would have been great, but they just never crossed the path.
I think they were trying to have 2 simultaneous action franchises at once. They didn't want to. They didn't want to cross the streams.
Golan Globus had too many things in production at once. You don't say. I've seen Life Force and Superman 4. I understand that.
I mean, he did fight. He was in Blind Fury, so he did at least fight Rutger Hauer.
Okay, so you know what? That gives you points in my book. As if you didn't already steal this movie for me, Sho. Now I really love you. But I like how he comes in and he attacks the Frank and Marianne compound, right? And like what does he do? He's like pin her up on a tree or something and then gets Frank out there and stabs him.
Yeah, he's got her tied to a tree and then he lures Frank outside and basically cuts Frank into small twitching pieces.
Yes. Like he
and that's the thing though. Frank is supposed to not be. Frank is supposed to also be kind of a formidable fighter too. He is a veteran of the Bush War, and he apparently does have a backstory of where he is like a good fighter because he tells Cole at that awkward post-sex breakfast. He's talking with Cole about the great times they used to have, and Susan George yells at him for rehashing the past.
Well, see, I think that's it, though, is that this is a guy who has lost the edge and he's just like reliving the glory days, but he can't muster it anymore. And even when he tries to, he's not, able to do it. And he ends up whimpering and going out and getting his throat cut by the evil ninja.
Oh, you know how you mentioned you wanted to see Sho Kosugi fight Chuck Norris? Mm-hmm. Well, he does fight Jean-Claude Van Damme. Does that do anything for you?
That does. When does that happen? What cinematic masterpiece is that?
It's Black Eagle. It is a Sho Kosugi starring vehicle, and Jean-Claude Van Damme plays a Russian heavy.
Well, put that on the list. I'm just going to tell you right now, that's going to have to get done. So, yeah. But back to Enter the Ninja here, because now it's time for the ninja to enter, okay? Because now they've really pissed him off. And they've killed his pet cockfighting friend. We didn't talk about Frank's into cockfighting, but he is.
He's super into cockfighting.
Yeah, like he's like if NFL fans like wear jerseys and tailgate hours before the game and stuff like that's this guy with cockfighting.
I don't even know if it's that. He shows up and starts yelling at his workers, "Hey, let's have a cockfight." I guess if your boss came in one day and was yelling at you to have a cockfight, I guess you would have to do it.
I guess so.
Because the villagers and Frank's land has apparently a village on it where people have been living for generations before they bought it. And Frank just shows up and they're like working and doing things. And Frank just starts grabbing Pee-wee and he's yelling at people and he starts chanting for a cockfight. So his workers have to drop their tools and the things that they're doing for their jobs and come rushing over to have a cockfight for the white man.
Frank is not good for productivity. Mary Ann's right. He is not helping the situation at all. So anyway, Daenerys and Hasagawa have her hostage. They take him back to, as we mentioned, his martial arts compound or ag arena, whatever you want to call it, whatever they rented out that week in Southern California.
No, this is all shot in the Philippines. So this is...
It's all shot in the Philippines? Oh, so it's done on the real cheap. Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely like a legit cockfighting arena.
Yeah, that probably just happened one day, and they were like, we got to get a camera on that the next time it goes down. So, but anyway, and they probably did. So, but anyway, well, I mean, like, there's that whole building too where Cole and Dollars go in to like steal some plans or something. They go to figure out that geological survey is what they find in there. But that was a scene out of like Ocean's 11 or something. But that was like a building you feel like they like snuck into and took a couple shots and they got out of real quick.
Yeah.
So people were like, "Who are these people with the cameras?" So
and they keep playing the most inappropriate music imaginable.
Oh yes, the score.
They keep doing this. Like Cole shows up and he kills two guys, and then they play this whimsical type stinger that does not fit murder.
It's just like Halloween 5, where the cops walk around and it's like beep boop beep boop doop circus music. You know, it's that kind of crap going on. It's the same bad use of music. Yes, it's terribly done. But it's all done for comedy. Like, that's the funny part. It's like Cole has murdered at this point probably 25 people with his bare hands. Like, he hadn't even picked up a weapon.
Yeah, he's just ripping necks. He's just breaking necks and shattering arms. And
at one point, I thought he was going to do the Patrick Swayze Roadhouse throat rip, but he didn't do it. He just chopped the guy.
Yeah, it was
that would have been awesome.
Yeah, it was just a chop to crush his larynx. He didn't rip the throat out.
Yeah. Well, no. Speaking of Halloween H2O and Resurrection taught me you can crush a larynx and live. So, but anyway, so that's if you.
I greatly enjoyed Mr. Parker, and I greatly enjoyed Venarius in the scene leading up to the Hasagawa assault on the Frank's compound.
Oh yes, they're wonderful.
And I greatly enjoyed his hissy fit about how he wants his black ninja.
Yeah.
That was greatly.
I want my black ninja. No, they are fantastic. But what's even better about that is the Cole is going around and he's basically just killing off all of Daenerys' goons now, and it comes down to where you've got Mr. Parker's holding Mary Ann at gunpoint, and through some good Batman fireworks, Cole sneaks up behind him, gets a knife on him. Mary Ann gets away. Who, by the way, props to Susan George, wearing high heels, arms tied behind her back. She goes down those stairs like a champ. Like, she really got that done. You can tell that, like, I'm doing that once and that's it. But, like, she was really tied up. I was like, this poor woman has been abused on this set.
But but you're right. It is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, well, that may be the best stunt of the whole.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Sho Kosuge could do that one.
I know. I mean, he maybe like he was up to the side going like, "Oh, good job, Susan. Good work." So, but you've got Parker holding her by anyway. Cole's got the knife on him, and I love how Daenerys is like, "Well, who said I wanted Mr. Parker to live?" And he just shoots him, and the guy's like, "But sir," and it's like, "Oh, you've killed your goon now. Oh, this is why you must die." But now we get back to the age question: can a throwing star kill somebody? Apparently so, because Cole buries one in his chest, and I love the look on his face. Is like he just sort of shrugs, like, "What do you do?" Ninjas.
I mean, you ask ninja questions, you get ninja answers.
Exactly. But that also let me know, and it's the one thing I will give like super credit to this film on. When Cole goes into ninja mode, it doesn't take a long time for him to put people down. Like, you know, a lot of times these movies, like, it's like a video game. They escalate as the bosses escalate or whatever. Nope, he pretty much whacks people out in about a minute. Like, it doesn't take much for him to put people down. The showdown fight between him and Hasegawa, 3/4 of it is them posturing at each other. The actual fight is less than 30 seconds, which I actually liked. I thought that was impressive.
I really enjoyed that, too. I mean, I'm with you. I'm kind of tired of movies where this billionaire industrialist is also like a MMA fighter.
Yeah,
Venarius dies like a guy in a suit getting attacked by a ninja ought to die, quickly and without much fuss.
Yeah, okay. What do you do, ninjas? And then, but I like it when the two super ninjas face off against each other, and. Well, okay, I'm going to credit a George Lucas prequel film, so stand back. But when Count Dooku and Yoda go at each other, they only fight for about 40 seconds. But it was the most amazing 40 seconds of Attack of the Clones. And that's what I had a flashback or thought about when I was watching this. I was like, yes, this is exactly how this should go. These guys are super ninjas. They trade blow for blow, and Cole gets the best of him. And what he does is, like, they do that whole bit at the beginning where he has to do all those, you know, they're not gang signs, but they kind of look like it, where he's like, you know, all the alphabets of the ninja or whatever, and that's how he catches the sword and flips it and turns the guy over and stabs him with it. I love the fact that fight is not long.
Yeah, what it made me think of was actually Seven Samurai, because you don't see a lot of prolonged fights in that. You see like the two guys in the pond charging each other. They clash swords once, they do it again, and then a guy falls over dead, because that's, you know, how it would probably go if you had ninja fighting ninja.
Exactly. Like, I think about all of the sword and swashbuckling movies I've seen growing up, and even the ones that came after this, and those fights always end up lasting forever. Like, think of like you know, Conan and Red Sonja and all that. Like, some of those swords fights, if guys were really going at each other with that amount of weight and power, they'd break the swords pretty fast and then end up just punching each other in the face. That's what I like here, is that everything is as it probably would be if two ninjas went at each other.
Yeah, and apparently all the Stone did most of the choreography for it with Shokusuge, and that's probably where they both got their inspiration for the fights, is that one of these guys is a longtime martial artist and the other guy is a professional fighter, and they both know this is how this usually goes. Let's do cool things, but let's not, you know, belabor the point.
Yeah, and whether that was Golan or the budget or time, or if, like you say, Stone and Kazuki said, look, this shouldn't last long. It'll be better if he gets if they knock each other's weapons away, he catches the blade, flips him over and stabs him with it, and then they do the whole, you've won with honor, please let me die with honor, and, you know, cut my head off. And yes, I will do that for you.
And I enjoyed that touch at the end, because it wasn't personal. It was a business transaction. And you would think from the beginning that it would be that you would see Hasegawa, you know, cheat, but he doesn't. Like, it's a straight ahead fair fight, which is what Hasegawa has wanted the whole time.
Exactly. And he got it. Like, that's the thing, is he went up against the person he didn't think deserved to be there, and the guy won fair and square. And he's like, okay, please don't let me sit here and agonize to death. Cut my head off and let's end this. And he does. And I really, really liked that resolve. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that part too. I thought it was great. The whole thing, of course, I think the whole thing is great, but
yeah. So Cole leaves town, but promises to come back, maybe wink to the audience, and he might get to kill Siegfried before he flies home, which is kind of a little funny sting at the end. I think I would have been all right if he just stood up, and after that fight, because he's taking his mask off and he's beheaded Hasegawa, if he sees Marianne in the distance and they just nod at each other and then that's it. They just go their separate ways. I mean, that's what they do anyway. So I don't know that I needed the little end comedy, but this movie's sort of a goof, so it ends on that. It's fine.
Yeah, it didn't take away from the movie for me, but it just, you're right. It probably would have been better that Cole, with his mission accomplished, just disappeared into the sunset or what have you.
Right. As the white ninja, he just goes into the white heat of the Philippines.
he just wanders into the jungle.
That's it. Yeah, because he won't stick out at all in that. But anyway, well, I think we're at the part of the podcast where it's time to give final thoughts and popcorn ratings. Ron, what are yours for Enter the Ninja?
I'm going to go with a large popcorn. My wife did not enjoy it as much as I did, because once again, I forced her to watch it with me. But I think it's great. You can easily see just from watching it why this kicked off Ninja Frenzy, because it is so different from the things that were going on at that time. And it's just early enough to jump ahead of the Japan fascination of the mid-'80s that America had. It's got at least one bona fide martial arts star in Sho Kosuge. I think Mike Stone could have been a star as well had he been born 10 years later or not sold all of his possessions and moved to the Philippines after making this movie. But yeah, it's definitely entertaining in a cheesy 80s canon way with some surprisingly good legitimate fight scenes.
I feel about this movie the way I felt about rewatching Invasion USA when we did it. There's a lot to it that's really good when you kind of rake away the cheese, of it. There's actually a decent little story here. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't waste a ton of time. I mean, it could be about 10 minutes shorter if they wanted to cut a few things. But honestly, I was never bored with it. And I think that, to me, like going into this, I'm not a ninja movie fan. Obviously I didn't grow up watching them or anything. My point of reference was a cartoon, for goodness sake, built off of a toy line. So I had no reason to care about any of this. But I found myself hooked the whole time and legitimately was blown away by how real the fights were. I can't go enough about how neat it was to see fights that didn't last way too long. That they got in, they got out, they did what they were supposed to do. It's that perfect Canon Films budgets. Before, the thing is that I know what Canon Films' reputation is to do something way overblown, and I think that's what we're going to get in the sequels or semi-sequels of the series or whatever. But this one is a really good little story. I definitely recommend people to check this out. If you haven't seen this one, you're going to see a lot of 80s action film tropes that you didn't know came from this. And it should be well regarded. There's a reason this movie has a cult status, for doubt. I'm joining you in the large popcorn. Had an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to see when we come back next week for Return of the Ninja, because we're just bringing an actor back, right? There's no continuation of character.
Absolutely none.
So this series is tied together, but they're sequelized, but they really have nothing to do with one another other than ninjas are in all of them.
Yeah, basically that's it.
That's awesome. That would be like if the second Jaws movie was about an alligator and the third one was about like a condor.
And the third was about a Halloween mask that turned kids into snakes.
Hey, that one has its own place in cult fandom. But well, folks, thanks for joining us on Ninja-vember, as Ron said, the first episode. You can always find episodes of our podcast, continuousplaypodcast.com/movies. Give us a review on iTunes or Google Play, wherever you find the show. We appreciate your support. Hook up with us on social media. We always enjoy interacting with fans. Until next time, for Ron, I'm Jay. This has been a podcast with honor about Enter the Ninja on Filmstrip.
Thank you for listening to Filmstrip. You can find more episodes on our website, continuousplaypodcast.com/movies. Please leave us a positive review on iTunes and link up with us on Facebook. The Filmstrip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121.